Hello friends, lesson today is over mean absolute deviation, or MAD or MAD. So just as a review, remember that mean represents the center of the data set. The mean is used as a reference point to measure how much each data value in the data set deviates or strays from it. So when you have a set of data like this, and you figure out the mean or the average, that sort of gives you an idea of the measure of the center of the data. Okay, now not every single piece of data is the same as the center, the mean. So what you're measuring when you're measuring the deviation is how far away each of the pieces of data are from the mean, the center. Okay, so that is what deviation means. So the deviation of the data value from the mean measures how far away and in which direction the data value is from the mean. I sort of kind of already said that. Data values that are less, so these pieces of data that are below or less to the left of our mean, have a negative deviation. It means that they're smaller than the mean, and then the data values that are greater, the ones over here to the right, have a deviation that is positive, so they're bigger than the mean. Okay, so in order to be able to, one thing I wanted to mention, when you take how far each one of the pieces of data deviates from the mean and then average that gives you a measure of how far all of the pieces of data deviate. Are you confused yet? Anyways, let's figure out how to calculate the mean absolute deviation. So the first thing you need to do is find the mean of all the values. So we're going to take this group of data right here and we're going to find the mean of that. So when we add up all these pieces of data, all these numbers together in our calculator, we get 178. And we know that we need to divide 178, the sum of all of our data pieces, by the number of data pieces that we have. And there are 10 numbers here. So 178 divided by 10 is 17.8. And of course, do this in your calculator. No sense in you all doing this in your head or on paper. Do it in your calculator. Okay, so now that we know what the mean of this data is, we can fill out our table and figure out the mean absolute deviation, or the MAD. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is list all the data points, and I'm going to list them in order because that always seems to be how we do this, and hopefully this is going to be a mess because this table is very small, but I'm going to do my best in writing this. We've got 15, 15, 15, 17, 17. And remember, when you're writing these down, I've already done it, you can cross them off so that you make sure that you are getting all your pieces of data. We've got an 18 as our next biggest number, 20 right here, 21, and 23. Okay, so that's what we do first. Then we have already figured out the mean for the data, so you're just going to write the mean here in this column. So literally writing 17.8 over and over and over. Throughout this whole column. Okay. Then we're going to find the difference. So I want you to literally, I know this is easy, but get out your calculator, punch in 15 minus 17.8, and fill in the difference. So it's going to be negative 2.8, negative 2.8, and negative 2.8, since all three of those first numbers are 15. Then 17 minus 17.8 is negative 0.8. Negative 0.8 and negative 0.8. Then we have 18 minus 17.8 is 0.2. 20 minus 17.8 is 2.2. 21 minus 17.8 is 3.2. And 23 minus 17.8 is 5.2. Okay, so this is how far each of the data points deviate from our mean. So 15 is negative 2.8 away from our average, our mean of 17.8. And it's because it's a negative, it means it deviates to the left. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite the differences as positive values. And we know that this is also called the absolute value. Remember when we learned about absolute value, that's kind of like those touchdown signs. If we had the absolute value of -4, that would just be 4. It's how far it is from 0 on a number line. So we're going to take the absolute value of each of these numbers. So the absolute value or the positive value of negative 2.8 is 2.8, 2.8, and 2.8. And then negative 0.8 is just 0.8, 0.8, and 0.8. And then 0.2 is already positive. So we're just really rewriting these last few numbers because we already have them positive. Okay, so now that we have all the values, all the deviations in a positive form, we are going to add these numbers all up. We're going to take the sum of all of these deviations, and when we add those all up in our calculator, we get 21.6. Okay, then we need to fill in this box that says count. That's how many data points that we have, which we already know that we have 10. Okay, then the mean absolute deviation is the average of the positive value column. So you're going to take the sum of all of these numbers, which we wrote down here, and the count, and you're going to take 21.6 divided by 10, and that is 2.16. That is the mean absolute deviation. And that's it. That's how you find it. So I have a assignment for you in Google Classroom for you to find the mean absolute deviation of a set of numbers in there. And that is your assignment for today.